This is the card we're going to make today. This is a Halloween themed card that is also a light up card. You press the moon and some of the windows in the house will light up. And so let's begin. I'm starting by cutting out two of the smallest rectangles from the small stitched rectangle die set. And then now I am going to stamp in some of the stamps from the Happy Haunting stamp set. And I'm on the second sheet, I am putting down some anti-static tool and stamping it with some Versamark ink. And then I am going to emboss that with the Arts White Satin Pearl embossing powder. And then on this sheet, I'm going to do some emboss resist. And I'm going to do the emboss resist with broken china, mermaid lagoon, chipped sapphire, and black soot distress inks. And I'm going to be careful that I don't color the moon in or the house too much with these particular inks. And now the black soot that's left on my blending brush, I'll just put a little bit of that onto the house. And now I'm going to just take a paper towel and wipe away any ink that's on the embossed lines. And I'm taking some Hero Arts Unicorn White pigment ink, and I am using a wadded up paper towel to just kind of blot some colors on there. Now I'm using some Hickory Smoke distress inks to color in the house. Now I want to make a quick mask of the house and the moon, so I'm picking some scrap paper and cutting the house and the moon to act as a mask. And then I'm spraying some clean water using my distress sprayer. Now I'm taking some Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White. I've diluted it a bit with some water. I put it on a paintbrush and I splattered it on. And now I just sprayed some clear shimmer mists. And this is going to be a Chibitronics project. And so I'm just drawing the circuit of how it's going to go. I'm going to have some of the windows in the house light up. And now I'm making a switch for the battery compartment. And I'm taking my copper tape and I am placing it down over the rough lines that I drew in. And I'm burnishing it down with my bone folder. And now I am doing the positive circuit. And again, I'm going to burnish this down with my bone folder. Now I'm putting the Chibitronics LED lights on there, being careful that I put the negative on the negative. And I am checking the system to make sure it works. And now I'm going to put some foam tape on to prop up this switch so that the battery doesn't accidentally activate. So I'm going to end up putting 3 layers of foam around the switch compartment. And I left a little slot in the front so that I can slide a little piece of cardstock in there so that it will isolate the battery from the circuit when it's being mailed so that the battery doesn't accidentally activate and drain during the mailing procedure. And so I just completed the switch, and now I'm cutting little holes in the windows that are going to be above the LED lights. So I'm just using my craft knife to cut the little holes for the windows. And now I'm taking a black marker and coloring in those cut windows from the back. Okay, now I'm going to put foam tape on the rest of that circuit panel, and I'm going to end up putting 2 layers of foam tape around everything else. As you recall, I had put 3 layers of foam tape around the battery switch itself, and so every place else is going to get 2 layers of foam tape. And then I will apply the front panel onto the circuit panel. Okay, and this is something I should have done before I started coloring everything, but I wanted to put a push here on the moon. So I used my anti-static tool, and I'm now going to emboss it with the same embossing powder that I've used for everything else. And now I'm removing the release paper, and I'm going to put this front panel onto the circuit panel, check that everything works, and I'm going to use my anti-static tool. And I'm going to emboss my Happy Haunting sentiment using the same embossing powder. And I'll use the Lawn Fawn sentiment dies to cut that out. And I ran this through my Xyron sticker maker so that it's actually a sticker that I'm putting on there, and then I trimmed the left-hand side. And now I'm using some Versafine Onyx black ink to stamp some bats onto there, but I couldn't get them quite dark enough, so I've tried to color them in with a black gel pen. And then I also tried a black Copic marker and wasn't really satisfied with how they were showing up. And so what I ended up doing was actually stamping them onto some white cardstock, and then I used my scan and cut to cut them out. And now I'll just glue the stamped bats over the areas where I had stamped it before. And then I'm also going to cut the bottom off of the little ghost and have it coming out of the chimney. And now I'll glue the whole thing onto a white piece of white cardstock that's cut by 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to put it onto an A2 size black cardstock. And then I'm also going to cut another piece of white cardstock that is 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to place that inside. And now I'll use my black Copic marker to ground these foreground items so it doesn't look like they're floating. And so here's the finished card. You press the button and it lights up. And you can put a sentiment on the inside of the card. And the very last thing I want to do is I got a small piece of cardstock here, and it's a little bit too wide. So I'll just slide that here underneath the battery. To keep it from activating when it's in the mail. And then I will just take a marker to show that they should be pulling this out, and then the card will work. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.